Hey, what's cracking everybody? Welcome back to Computer Games Hardware. Today on the channel, we got a good one for you guys. We are reviewing the Thaumaturge.
A demon is a good publicity.
Is that jealousy I hear?
Stand here, right now! Bullets fly every which way here.
Yes. Now our journey is really beginning. Just remember, there's no turning back.
I've been fortunate enough to get my hands on review copies, so let's get stuck into the game. This game was developed by Fool's Theory and published by 11-Bit Studios, and you follow the titular character Victor Shulsky, who is a Thaumaturge. He has special powers where he can detect these ethereal beings called Salators, and he travels through 1905 Warsaw after the mysterious death of his father. And this is almost like a point and click detective story where you uncover all the secrets of the people in the environments around you. Think along the lines of Baldur's Gate 3 versus The Witcher. It's got that type of DNA into it, and I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with this game. So if you're into this top-down style of RPG and into turn-based combat, you're gonna love the Thaumaturge. The weirdest thing about it is pronouncing the name over and over again.
Thaumaturges do.
Dear Madame, Thaumaturges.
As a thaumaturge,
Does some things really well. There are some things that I'm not so hot about, but let's get into it. You're playing in that top-down Diablo-like action RPG style, so there's already a lot to like about this game, particularly coming off titles like Baldur's Gate 3, and you're looking for the next thing after Diablo 4 and all those sort of things. This might be the one for you. Now, this game isn't nearly as big as any of those games, but it is certainly just as ambitious. This game features turn-based combat, morally ambiguous choices that make a difference throughout the story, and it's exactly what I was looking for after coming down from those big titles in 2023. Now, one of the things you might want to be aware about of this game is that there is a lot of reading. So this is one of those titles where you uncover things. It's sort of like a detective story. So you will be doing a lot of reading, picking up items, getting clues, and progressing through the game that way. Not to worry, there is a compelling story with pre-rendered cutscenes and all that sort of stuff. So it's not like that if you don't read through, you won't get the main gist of the story. But it is worth noting there is a ton of reading. But for my playthrough, sometimes I hate having to do all that work in a game when you're trying to figure out complex mechanics and things like that. But they've done it in a way that really makes you want to solve the mystery. So you want to be a little bit smarter than the game at every turn you take. So it doesn't feel like as much as a chore as it is in some other games. So happy to report that portion of the game is fun despite a lot of on-screen reading. Victor sort of uses his powers to get a sense of people, where they've been, what they've done as they walk throughout the thing. So he has a sort of power where you can detect things and get a sense of the feelings within those objects that people sort of imprint on them. And I think the game calls it observation. So you're essentially making observation of objects and people and things, and what you're trying to uncover is people's flaws that attract these demons called Salators, which are on this ethereal plane. So people get sort of possessed by these Salators, and it is your job to detect and figure out how you can capture these Salators, which then you can use in the turn-based combat throughout the game. You start off with your own Celator, so you're already one of these flawed people, and your flaw is pride within this game, and that also plays into your choices throughout the game. So you have a whole bunch of different conversations that you can have with people, and there is a flawed response, which is your pride. So if your pride comes out in your response and you click that, it adds to your your pride score, which may affect how people perceive you throughout the games, and either open up opportunities or close them depending on the choices that you make. As I was saying, this game has a sort of alternate reality Warsaw, which is Polish, Russian type of themes to it. There are soldiers chasing you around, asking for your papers, and there's different levels of high society, and you're somewhere in between in those. Your sister, who plays a significant role in the game, is like a member of high society, where you sort of you sort of come from the lower end of society, and so that's a really interesting element. It also features a couple of true to life people that are represented in this game, like Gregorio Rasputin, who was one of these sort of old-timey real life mystics. So it has an element of that. There's sort of it was really interesting to see. I really enjoyed that level where they've taken that alternate history and sort of learned something about it. One thing I really love about this game is the sound design. So it's not perfect, but there are elements of it, like the clunking of like tea in China when people are sipping tea at pastisseries, and giving you the sense of what it's like to be in a pastisserie in 1905 Warsaw, with the descriptions of the treats and the pastisseries and all that sorts of things. Really inject this game with a lot of flavor and a lot of atmosphere. The biggest thing about this game, its story is really compelling and wants you to complete it. It also has a turn-based action combat system, which actually is not my favorite part of the game. I've learnt to appreciate it, and the fights can be fun and challenging. It's a little bit of a different take to normal turn-based combat, where you can call upon your Salators that you have extracted from people along the journey, and they all have different sort of levels of talents and skills that you can use against different opponents. So one opponent might be prone to one type of Salator, where another opponent who is a bit stronger you might need a different Salator to break down their defense systems and things like that. So each character has their own weakness and advantage that you can exploit with the use of your Salators. Also, by taking also traditional combat, so you've got firearms, punching, slashing, and all those sort of things. So basically what happens, you get to choose whether you take action or you allow your Salator to take action in the next turn. So you start off the fight, you get the option first. You can either do quick attacks, planned attacks, or strong attacks, which generally take that turn immediately, or you can action your Salator to weaken someone. I think it's called suffering. So you can put them in a suffering state, which then also impacts on your next turn. So you can choose your Salators to take action. You plan those attacks, and then it's the enemy's turn to take action. Then you get your turn, and in the meantime, the Salator's turn plays within that next turn. So you've got to be careful and plan how you want your things, because you can bleed, you can suffer at the end of each round, you can take damage depending on if someone slashed you or someone shot you or things like that. So you've got to be careful and preempt how much damage you're going to do before you your damage whittles down. So it's a really interesting turn-based action system, which I don't actually mind. One thing I really like, I found that it was a really slow to get through the combat, and I didn't like that very much. But the developers have put in a standard fast or very fast turn base, so you don't have to watch the animations over again. You can speed them up to really fast or normal, and I found fast to be probably the best in between those both three. So happens nice and quick and snappy. And once I was able to modify the settings to get that, I was more engaged in the turn-based combat. But what I really love about this game is exploring the story, doing the side missions, being this like mystic detective and figuring out all the people's thoughts, or even playing a game in my own head and trying to guess it before the before the story develops in front of you. It's a really fun story and a really fun world just to exist in. So as much as the combat is new and interesting and exciting, just existing in the world and following through the story was by far my favorite part of this game. The game also features classic RPG skill upgrades, which you can do. So uncovering all these clues, defeating enemies and things like that gain you Thaumaturge points. And you can spend them on a whole different ways. You can spend them on yourself, and you can spend them on your Salators that you've collected along the way, which makes it a little bit fun. It's a good system. My only thing is that it's a bit linear, so you can really do it it doesn't take too much to think about. And for me, the skill tree is sort of pretty basic, very linear in the way that it works, but you can upgrade your skills and get different things for your attacks and for your Salators and things like that. One of the good things it does, so it has it's got heart, mind, deed, and word. So it's not only the combat system that the upgrade system sort of increases, it can also have an effect on your choices in the world when you're out there solving the mysteries of the world in 1905 Warsaw. Obviously, being an alternative history and being in 1905 Warsaw, you are in Poland, and it is really interesting to see how they've imagined the streets and the city of Warsaw prior to World War One. It's really cool the way the developers have done it, and the atmosphere that the graphics and the sound design make for that time period is really interesting. You just want to run around and discover everything and really get a sense of that period of time. The game also features a really interesting set of sub-characters that you engage in throughout your journey. Victor's sister Lagia is one of them, and we discussed that Rasputin is a character that you engage with often, and they take you along your journey and support you through your journey. So the characters you meet and all the side quests and other characters are just really interesting and really fun to play around with. The story of the Thaumaturge takes place over 3 separate acts and a prologue as well. But during the acts, you really get a sense of it does really run out like a play, and I really enjoyed my time. Not only with the full game, but with each act. I felt like at the end of every act I was told a satisfied story that came to a conclusion, but that wanted me to continue on with the story. So I was really pleased about that. They've really thought about how the story travels over these 3 acts, and that was a high point for me, engaging in the story above all the combat and everything else. Now, I did have a couple of issues with the game. So the game, when it's in its top-down isometric style and you're running around, looks absolutely amazing. This is an AMD sponsored titles, and the developers recommend that you use AMD's graphics card to enable HyperRX frame generation and things like that. And I was happy to report I was with FSR3 getting pretty good frame rate. So you can see here I'm getting a relatively stable frame rate, and this is with recording on as well. So in general gameplay, I was getting, around about 100 FPS with FSR3 enabled. Unfortunately, though, with things like HyperRX and frame generation turned on, I didn't see a significant increase, and I did get a bit of stuttering with frame generation turned on. So I had my playthrough with that off, and I also had a bit of graphical glitches and stuttering, particularly in some cutscenes.
Never mind. This soiree isn't going to last forever.
I'm also wasn't too much of a fan of some of the character animations. Some of the characters look like they are in the Uncanny Valley. They've got that Shrek kind of look to them, which was a little bit off-putting for certain characters, particularly when they were expressing like really intense emotions and things like that. So that took me out of the gameplay a little bit, but and there were some little bits and pieces like the cursor not always matching where I was pointing, making me more want to play on controller, which was not fully supported. So that was a little disappointing. My controller would disconnect randomly throughout the game, and then I was having some point and click issues throughout the game, and it was disappointing because I really wanted to progress through the story. So I'm happy to report, though, that the day one patch that was released went a long way to rectify some of those issues. Unfortunately, I was pretty far through my playthrough at that point, so they were some minor frustrations. So some of the animations, you had some classic clipping and things like that. So some of the character models and things like that probably needed a little bit more polish. I also found that while the audio atmosphere was really exciting and a great feature of the game, some of the dialogue choices would cut out, or the volume would start at a normal pace and slowly dissipate, so you don't actually hear the end of what a character is saying. Fortunately, you can read that through the captions on screen, but I found that happened more than once throughout my playthrough. So there's certainly a little bit of opportunity for a bit of a spit and polish on this game to get it up to standard, but it did not at all impact on my enjoyment of the game. I kept wanting to go back, and I got through this game roughly around 26 or 27 hours. So there's plenty to get through, and as you progress, the depth of the mechanics and stuff certainly play out. The story captivates you, and I highly recommend this game. While it's not the most perfect polished AAA title that is available at the moment, this is just one of those games that sucked me in with its compelling story, alternate history, and fun gameplay. So if you're coming off the highs of some of the action RPGs that were available to you in 2023, and you're still looking for something to scratch that itch, the Thaumaturge is definitely for you. I've really enjoyed my time with it. Comes recommended from Computer Games Hardware. The Thaumaturge is available right now on PC. You can get it on Steam, the Epic Game Store, or Good Old Games. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I've had a really good time with the Thaumaturge with my playthrough, and I'm sure it's going to feature when it releases on the consoles and at the end of the year. So I've had a really good time making this video for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it too. As usual, I'll keep making these if you keep watching them. So have you enjoyed the Thaumaturge? Let me know in the comments down below if you're playing it and what you guys think. Again, I'll keep making these if you keep watching them, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.